amber, honey amber. It almost looks like cherry.
And like a cherry and almost like a cognac color.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had this appraised at $240. If you could find one at whatever price, I don't know where we would find butterscotch amber.
I don't even know where you'd find it at that.
We sold this out back in October. Jay and I sold this out, and we sold this out in about 2 minutes. I remember putting it on. I was wearing it. It was $169. You and I were excited because to get this massive amber necklace at $169.50 was great. Today, we brought in as many as we could. It's $129.90. You will never see that value again, just per the planner, because she already tried to reorder it and Jay said no. $25.98 on your charge card. And if we took all of the amber, with the exception of the butterscotch out, just the butterscotch alone, Jay, for this price.
Right, and you know, the butterscotch amber, literally, we get it out of the Baltic. Even the think about this, the rarity of that. Even the new Ukrainian deposits that we're now working, that we've been working for the last 3 years out of Ukraine, they don't have any butterscotch at all. So you've got a combination of Ukrainian amber, which are the darker ambers or the lighter ambers, and then the beautiful butterscotch color that is Baltic amber.
And again, that's 30 to 50
million
years old.
Is what they've carbon dated it back to of approximately when it was formed. And I know 30 and 50, that's 20 million years, but during that time, that's just a kind of in the ballpark of how long ago that this was developed.
What percentage of the amber that is
less than 5%?
Less than so this
of all the material that we get is the butterscotch color.
And you got to think about what amber is, a fossilized tree sap. So it's really like a time capsule, because in that fossilization process, this is the amazing thing about amber. It captured all kinds of things. They have found species of plants, species of insects, species of animals that no longer exist. If you remember the original Jurassic Park movie, that's where they extracted the DNA from the dinosaurs to make them come back to life. Now, I'm certainly not saying that could happen, but the point is, it is like a little time capsule. It did capture things that are no longer existing on the face of the earth. So each and every piece of amber is special, and to be able to get this, Jay, an entire necklace of butterscotch mixed back with all of the other colors is a treat. And then to do it at $129, that, I don't even know that you could put it together for that price again.
Well, and here again, you know, to talk back to the rarity of the butterscotch color, but just amber in general. Here's another thing too. Here's the way this works, right? It's called supply and demand, right? So when there's a huge demand, which there is worldwide for amber, and there's a very limited or small supply, what happens, right? So you got a very limited supply, and you got everybody wanting to buy it. So the prices go up, right? In the last few years, amber has literally gone up 5 times. 500% in the at least last 3 years.
Jay, you think about
amber rough material.
Here at HSN, we're the largest retailer of colored gemstones in the U.S. We used to do,
used to have amber shows,
we used to
remember?
have amber shows. We would do 2 and 3 hours, 2 and 3 hours of nothing but amber. We haven't done that in 15 years.
Right, and there was a reason why. And that reason is that he was a lovely person.
Yes.
And he was a manufacturer, great guy. I actually made a few things for them. And the resource dried up, their amber resource dried up. And also what started happening, the same thing with him, the prices started going up, and he was exclusively just dealt in amber. The only thing that saved me is I do everything, right? I do turquoise, I'm not stuck with just one material. He specialized in amber, and literally they just priced him out of the industry.
Okay, hang in there. You've got this if you're on board. But we got to let you know, our favorite neighbors, Brent and Josh, the Beak